Hey, what's going on, guys? War Brothers Collectibles here. Welcome back to another video. Again, this video is going to be totally unscripted. I'm just going to talk about one of my favorite films, give you my thoughts, give you a quick review, and again, we'll just see how this video goes, completely unscripted. So let's get into it. So today I want to talk about one of my favorite Halloween sequels, Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers from 1988. This was made obviously 10 years after the original. Michael Myers returns, as the title suggests, and his arch nemesis, Dr. Loomis, played by the brilliant Donald Pleasance, returns again to hunt down and stop Michael. So, after the idea of the anthology series, which started with Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, you guys might know that the idea of that film was to create a new Halloween themed story each year and have an infinite number of films that spawned their own infinite number of sequels till the end of time. That was the direction they wanted to go, but failed miserably in the public eye. Everyone wanted Michael Myers. They didn't understand why Michael Myers wasn't in part three because it was still called Halloween. So they kind of abandoned that idea, and Mustafa Akkad bought all the rights back himself and decided to, as the title suggests, bring Michael Myers back in Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. So the plot of this one, again, is pretty formulaic to the original film. It all goes back to basics, Haddonfield, babysitters, and Michael just returning. But this time, so it's set 10 years after the original. Laurie Strode has been killed in a car accident, but she has left behind her, I think, 8-year-old niece, Jamie Lloyd, who's now been adopted by a foster parents. And one of the great characters in this film is the foster sister, Rachel. Not foster sister, but you know what I mean. Um, she's kind of like looks after Jamie and helps her to saves her from Michael, basically. Um, so Michael has basically been locked up for 10 years in a coma. Supposedly, somehow he survived the fire. So did Dr. Loomis, by the way, which is not never really explained. It's just kind of thrown away in one line of dialogue. Like, they were both set on fire, both of them nearly burned to death, which I find hilarious because they were like, Michael burned to a crisp and Dr. Loomis died off camera, presumably. So I guess he could survive, but not in that explosion at the end of part two. But anyway, that's just a minor flaw in the story, but you just got to bring Michael back somehow. So that's how they bring him back. He's been in a coma for 10 years, being transferred back to Smith's Grove. He finds out about his 10-year-old niece, actually, um, who lives in Haddonfield, and he breaks out and returns to Haddonfield to basically, presumably, kill his niece, Jamie Lloyd. Dr. Loomis, of course, ever on the quest to stop Michael once and for all, returns to Haddonfield, notifies the police, and again starts on his mission to hunt down Michael on Halloween night. It goes pretty much back to like the bloodless style of the original. There's a little bit of blood because most slasher films at that time really capitalizing on the gore and the violence. But Mustafa Akkad was pretty adamant. He was like, "No, this is not a Friday the 13th movie. This is a Halloween movie, done with suspense, music, and sort of implying the violence rather than full on showing it, blood and guts in your face." Um, this is probably one of the better sequels out of all the films that they've done. Um, it began sort of like the downfall of the series because it starts what fans call the Thorn trilogy, which is expanded on in part five and part six, um, which go delve more into the supernatural aspects of Michael and the supernatural aspects of Halloween. But I'd say this one is pretty basic, pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Um, Michael trying to stalk his niece, and Dr. Loomis out to stop him. There's a great scene in a gas station where Dr. Loomis comes face to face with Michael, and he's like, "God damn you," and starts shooting him. Of course, Michael escapes, and then it's a big chase back to Haddonfield. I think that's a really great action scene. It takes place in broad daylight, where Michael's killed everyone off screen in this gas station as Dr. Loomis arrives, and they come face to face, which I think is a great moment in the franchise. Um, I really like the sheriff. We didn't have Sheriff Brackett return this time. Charles Cyphers, he was replaced by a character called Sheriff Mika, played by Bo Starr. I think him and Dr. Loomis both were a great team trying to stop Michael. He's the only one that kind of believes that Michael's back. And there's many other aspects of the film, like soap opera kind of drama between Rachel, the older sister, her boyfriend, and other characters. There's kind of like a soap opera teenage drama to it, which is really good. I think it just, you can relate to those characters. I think it's kind of a different aspect of the film. Not that many of the sequels after this didn't really do that. Like I have a love triangle with three characters, things like that. Um, there's also a lynch mob because the police force gets indisposed, or so, I'm not going to spoil it, but indisposed in some way. Dr. Loomis tells these townsfolk about Michael's return, and these hunters go out and try and stop Michael themselves in a lynch mob, which doesn't turn out very well. Um, that's also a different aspect to the film. The ending is kind of lame, I suppose. Spoilers ahead. If you've not seen it, please turn off now. They, after an awesome like kind of truck chase on top of a truck, Michael throwing off people as he's stabbing them while Rachel's driving that car. I think that's such a great action sequence. But then the police arrive and they just blast the bejesus out of Michael, shoot him down, and he falls down a mine shaft and he's declared dead. It's a little bit anticlimactic, I suppose. Like I hate it when they just shoot Michael because like bullets don't stop him. They've never stopped him. And then he's just, oh yeah, he's dead. I'm like, well, no, you've shot him quite a few times before over the years, and he's always come back. But in part 5, straight away they throw a stick of dynamite on top of him anyway. So if they showed us that, then maybe we could have believed it more. But the twist at the end of the film, I do really like. Again, if you're not turned off already, please turn off now if you don't want to know the twist at the end. But when Rachel sort of inherits Michael's evil by holding his hand earlier on in the film, she kind of puts the mask on like he did in part 1 and ends up stabbing his stepmother or foster mother like in the bathtub. And you're meant to believe that now she's like the all evil child, and that's how the film ends, which is a great suspenseful cliffhanger ending. But where they were going to go with that, I don't know, because they were always going to bring Michael back in part 5 anyway. So why have Jamie set up to maybe be the killer or this evil child? Probably sound like a good idea on paper, but I don't know how well they didn't follow up on it in part 5 in the way that people thought. She ends up being this mute, traumatized child. They went down that route instead of having the potential evil sidekick to Michael. So the cliffhanger's good in the film itself, like as a standalone, but to carry on the series of films is ultimately pointless. Nothing too bad I can say about this film apart from the mask. The mask is quite poor, and there's been debate over the years about the mask, but he just picks it up in a hardware store as he did in the first film. But it looks so kind of cheap looking, and it's just not as, I don't know, it's too white and it's not as dirty. Or I know he's picked it up fresh in a shop, but the mask in the first film just works so much better. Then it just looks so cheap, and the hair's all perfect in part 4. The mask just doesn't look right. The best masks is probably Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. That's going to be my favourite mask. I actually own a replica mask of Halloween 6 because it's the best mask in my opinion. Other masks that are bad is Halloween H2O, there's multiple masks used in that film, and I think they're all bad, apart from the one short frame of a shot where they use the actual Halloween 6 mask. But in various other shots, they're using 3 or 4 different masks in that entire film. Um, so Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, was a return to form for the series. As I say, they abandoned that anthology idea with part 3, which again was interesting. I don't have a problem with part 3. I enjoy that film as its own thing. But because fans wanted Michael Myers back, that's exactly what they got. And it was a major hit. It was 2 weeks number 1 box office in the nation when it was first released in the US. It was very successful in the UK on home video when it was released. And it remains a fan favourite, mainly because the performances, Danielle Harris and Ellie Cornell, the 2 main female leads, they're really good in both part 4 and 5. Little Danielle Harris really carries the film. You really root for her. She's a great sort of passing on the gauntlet to from Jamie Lee Curtis, from the Laurie Strode character. It's just a shame in part 6 that Jamie Lloyd doesn't, no matter what version of that film that you watch, he doesn't get kind of the send off that maybe the fans wanted. It's kind of disrespectful of that character. It's always one that stands out for me. I watch it quite regular. I always return to part 4, give it another watch. And it's still a good experience, a good thrill ride, a good addition to the series. As I say, probably one of the best. And yeah, so definitely check it out if you've not seen it. And if you've stayed watching this video, you're aware of the spoilers, so I do apologize about that. So yeah, I'm going to post a link in the description below to my shop on eBay. Please check it out if you haven't already. Please like and subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. And post any comments below about your thoughts on this film and which film is your favourite in the Halloween series. Again, guys, sorry if I've bored you, but if you do like this video and I want to see more, please let me know. Please let me know how I can improve. And I will catch you again in another video.